Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's so good to be back on the Relationship and Marriage Hour. It is always good to share Sunday afternoon with our listening audience. And today we are enjoying the nice, beautiful sunshine. And I trust that you're having a very great day. Our topic for today is dealing with an obstinate spouse. And we have in the studio with us our guest, Miss Kathleen Butler, and she is going to tell us who is Kathleen Butler. I'm going to allow her to just you and share a little about herself. Miss Butler.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying a beautiful weather as we are in the Bahamas. It's beautiful over here. Okay, like Dr. Marie said, my name is Ketley Butler. I spent most of my career in finance, but now I'm a life coach and a consultant. Married for 28 wonderful years and one son of 23 years, waiting for a grandchild, hoping. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, great to have you, Miss Butler, on the show. Or can I say Kathleen?
That's
Um,
fine. Ketley's fine.
on the show. Okay, we're happy to have you on the program this afternoon. And Dr. Alvin is en route to the program, so he will join us shortly. So today we are looking at dealing with an obstinate spouse. And I believe this is a topic that can really help someone because, we have different personality types. We have persons who would have gone through trauma, result, they have developed a certain attitude. And, you know, sometimes they can see it, sometimes they don't see where the problem lies. But today we want to call out an obstinate spouse. And when we think about obstinate, we look at the word and it means unreasonably persistent in one's opinion or one's course of action. And it could be negative, it can be a situation that is constantly draining the other spouse because if that's unwilling to give in or change, it means then that one side in this relationship is being ruled more than the other side. And it is usually, we describe it usually as someone who's very hard headed. They have that hard headed determination, and it could be something that stemmed from their childhood, childhood trauma, or maybe they were just plain outright a stubborn child. So as they grow, you would find that they are now just that stubborn person. So we want to look at persons who are in such a relationship and how to deal with such person. And Kathleen, I don't know. We want you to give maybe what your take is on dealing with an obstinate spouse, and we will go from there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I like what you said about the different underlying factors that can cause a person to behave in a particular way. While we may perceive it as obstinance, they may be looking at it in a different way. I like to use the word you said hard-headed. I would say stubborn. But what does that really look like? Because I had an episode or a period in my relationship with my husband where I thought he was stubborn. But as the communication got better, I get to understand that there's more than just that. And of course, our environment is such a subtle programmer. And when you get programmed into a certain way of being or thinking, you don't even realize when that's happening. And it usually starts from home, the environment that's created at home, the way we see things, the way we hear things, the way we feel things, and that kind of like interfere with the way we look at things. And so for me and him, it was like a disconnect. But then one day I decided to, when I came down off my high horse because, sometimes we want them to conform because we want them to conform, and we want an answer right away because we asked the question, but it's not necessarily so. So I decided to come down off my high horse and have the conversation. And I'm asking him this question, and he's looking at me like, "Are you crazy, lady?" But it's quite obvious that it was at that point where I realized that we were speaking different languages, and what I saw, he didn't see. So of course there was a conflict. And his thing to me was, as a teenager, he came out of a family of 12 siblings, and he was like almost to the end, and he was always told what to do. And that kind of like create a kind of mindset that, I can't wait until I get to my own space and I can be my own person and I don't have to be dictated to. And so sometimes we use the wrong words that cause a trigger for them to respond in a certain way. And in addition to that, he also said that, I am not a blind follower because as a teenager, um, I followed blindly and it got me in a lot of trouble. Some things I'm still trying to undo today. And he said, so I'm not a blind follower. So when I say to you, when you ask me to do something, or you want me to pivot in a certain direction, and not because I don't respond right away or I don't answer you, doesn't mean that I don't have what you're saying in consideration. It's just that I need time to think. And because of your urgency, it's not my urgency that we have a disconnect, right? But it's not so much that I'm being stubborn. He said, it's not so much I'm being stubborn or I'm not listening to you. It's just that I need to process that information. I got to make sure that this is something that I want to do or a direction that I want to take. And who knows, maybe I can come up with something a bit better, an alternate route that, it can be a bit better. But he said to me, it's your impatience that is making me look like I'm obstinate, making me look stubborn. But you need to wait a little while and give me an opportunity. And when enough time has elapsed and I don't respond, then of course, let's have the conversation. But the constant dictating, you should do this, why don't you do this? You need to do this. Nobody needs to do anything, right? And so it's certain words that we say in the conversation that causes a trigger and causes them to behave in a certain way. And now, of course, there is obstinance. There's absolute obstinance at times, definitely, definitely. And sometimes, it's generational because we cannot explain it. It may not necessarily mean trauma. It may not necessarily come from environment or whatever else. Sometimes it's moments we have to pivot in a different direction. But for me, the way I dealt with that situation, because in my mindset, I still thought that he was a bit stubborn, even though he said that he wasn't. I saw, I saw what I saw, right? And like a friend of mine told me one time, you look in the mirror, you see you. When you walk away, everybody else sees you. And so, what you may perceive as I'm not being stubborn, you actually are being stubborn. So I, listen to him and everything, but I decide to handle it from a different avenue, a different way. Um, and of course, God has given us tools, and the tools is communication. And the Bible says that we have to live with one another. And no, he said specifically, husbands live with your wife in knowledge, according to knowledge. But of course, that goes both ways. And so I took my time to learn him, to understand what the triggers are. You know, at what point does he feel that I am trying to take the rein and being, he may perceive me as being disrespectful, but I'm a person who's like, things got to get done and got to get done at a certain time. Whereas, of course, he's not that way. He's more laid back. And so I learned him. I sat back and I kept quiet and I learned him. And I allow him not to respond the way I would want him to respond. And I just watched the situation. And then I was able to determine what I can do. And I realized that convincing is not the way, persuading is the way. Once I
Ah,
show him how it would benefit him now and in the long run, then his pupils begin to dilate and he gets to understand, huh, okay, I see what you're talking about. So then he can let go of his ideologies and probably adopt mine or maybe mesh the two. That's one way. I use persuasion. And there
Right.
are other situations where I had to do the evolving. I had to evolve. I had to realize that, hey, rising tide floats all boats. And if I may look at things a bit
Mm.
differently, handle it a bit differently, and put myself in his shoe, maybe I can respond a bit differently or ask him a bit differently, right? And so I found that that worked as well, right?
Awesome. Hmm.
Uh-huh, it worked as well. What do you think? And of course, I'm going to let out a secret here. Um, well, men, they have this way about them where they not necessarily need to be in charge, but they need to have this respect to feel that they can take the reign without any friction whenever they have to. And so I leave that space open. Okay. And I would say, okay, this is how I think about the situation. What do you think? I'm open to what you're thinking. And I'm thinking this way because, right? And then when he hears that, then he said, okay. And then he'll come up with something different and we probably can mesh the two, right? But like I said, I changed. When I changed, then he was a bit more, of course, I was less combative, trying less to convince him to see my side without having to consider that he had a side too, right?
Hmm.
And so I changed, and then he automatically changed as well, right? But of course, there are some people, unfortunately, that has a situation that is generational. We can't explain it.
Hmm.
They can't even explain it. They don't even know why they do what they do. And as the body, the Bible says, um, the body without the spirit is dead. Everything has a spirit. Everything, there's a genesis behind everything. Something is powering what we see here in the natural, right? And so when it comes to that situation, because I advise people in this area as well, in relationships as well. So I would advise them that when you come to a place where there is no explanation, no matter how you communicate, it doesn't make a difference. You just keep hitting a brick wall. It's at that time you realize that, hey, the tools that was afforded you is no longer working. It's reached its zenith. So you need to go to the creator, right? The one who made everything and who understands everything, who is omniscience, right? And who knows everything. And so in Malachi, I think 2:15, my favorite verse, when I'm having a challenge, and it says, I think there's a portion that says, they did not make them one with a portion of his spirit, right? So when I come and I covenant with God and my husband, God stayed there. He released his spirit and breathed that into the relationship. So I look at that as a permission to come to God and say, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. How can I handle this? And of course, it may be
Wonderful.
just one little thing that I need to do,
Hmm.
or maybe it is me. Maybe it's something that I need to change about myself, right? But
Hmm.
it's at that time then God will say, okay, maybe this is a generational thing. It stemmed from this particular thing. So I need you to come to me. I need you to use this particular scripture. I need you to come to me and talk to me, pray my word back to me so I can help you navigate this situation and undo
Right.
generational yeah.
I love what I'm hearing, Kelly. I love what I'm hearing because you use some words here. Alvin, it's so good to have you on. I don't know if you want to say hi to
Good
the
to be
audience
here.
before we go in. Yeah.
Good days. Good to be here, Dr. McDonald, and to our guest, Ms. Butler. It's
Hi.
good to have you on the Relationship Marriage Hour. Good to be in.
Okay. Yes, I've heard some keywords that you use, Ms. Butler. Let me go formal. One of them was persuade. Now, when we're dealing with an obstinate person, it can be negative, but I see your situation as just stubbornness or developed from childhood. Um, but you use the word persuade, you persuade, and that is powerful because usually a person that is obstinate, they are unreasonably persistent, but you have to, and you also say you try to understand what he was saying, and you also had to evolve. You had to then adjust yourself in order to understand him. And I like that because in situations where a spouse is unwilling to change, that can be taxing on a relationship. But you made it a point. You put yourself there and you try to understand him. You try to talk, to reason out. I love what you did. You also um, try to rephrase, I believe, based on what you say. I'm
Yes,
getting that. You
yes.
have to
Hmm.
rephrase some things to him, bring it across to him in a different light so that you can bring clarity and understanding. Um, in your persuasion, how difficult was it to get him to buy in to that persuasion? Because some have a harder time with an obstinate person because they're trying to tell them, but they are so set in their course of direction or their opinion that sometimes persuasion may not work. So tell us how persuasion worked for you.
Okay.
How
Um, a lot of times we want to give people the thing they want
mm,
and not what they truly want. And sometimes it takes time for you to study an obstinate person and see and listen to that conversation and know what it is that they want. What do they really want? Because we never reject what we truly want, right? But if I come and I bring you what I think, then there may be some kind of friction. But I listened to him and I heard what he wanted, what the end goal was, what he wanted, and I wanted the same thing too, right? It's just that my language and his language was a bit different because sometimes we'll have a conversation, we're both saying the same thing, but we're still locking horns, but we're just saying it in a different way. But I found out what it is that he wanted and found out what are the words that kind of like bring the walls down.
mhm,
And I found out that because I am quote unquote a strong woman, strong person, um, it's always not that he has a problem with being this way because I think he came at me because I was that way. But sometimes sometimes we can go a little bit off the edge with our personalities. But when I
mhm,
tamper it down a bit and I realized what it is that he truly wanted, then the wall was not there as much. It was there, but it was not as hard. And so when I use certain words that was not the trigger words that'll cause the wall to harden, then I was able to get in there and deliver what I knew he wanted. And then I got his focus and his attention, and then we were able to come to the table and have the dialogue.
mm.
Yeah.
Dr. Alvin, Dr. Alvin, I see you smiling.
Yes,
Let's
ma'am.
hear it from your perspective.
I know you want me to talk.
Talk, talk, talk.
Oh, where do I start, Doc? Where do I start? Miss Butler. Oh, wow. Okay, I can start here. And boy, let's go. Let's go there. Dr. Maria,
Mhm,
I had a conversation with the Lord, and I'm going to say some stuff. And before you jump in, just let me conclude my thought, and it might make sense.
okay, let's hear it.
All women, I'm talking about all women now, all women, I include my mother, I include my sisters, I include my
Oh
aunts,
boy,
every one of it, all of you now,
oh boy.
as my Bahamian, oh Lord, all women are crazy.
And
Uh huh.
I can let you finish.
Uh huh. Let me finish. Let me finish. All of them, all women crazy. Even my wife, all of y'all, crazy, crazy, crazy. And then I will say this: all men, all of us, all men stubborn. That's how God made us.
Mm,
And as your level of crazy is his level of stubborn. And let me tell you something that Miss Butler just said. Miss Butler just said she's a strong woman and she thinks that's why her husband married her. But when she started bringing that down, the wall started to fall
Mm.
because he was only matching her energy with his stubbornness.
When does
Uh
it?
oh.
When does it? Okay, okay, I can follow along with you. If he is matching her, when does it end?
Never.
Hmm.
It never ends. See, and this is where we have to come to grips. Listen, for him, for me to get Tanya, I had to be stubborn. And I can say like this, the hell Tanya put me through so I could marry her. If I wasn't stubborn, I wasn't going to get her.
Well, Doc, that's why I
Well,
said for the stubbornness, I can stop right now, Miss Button. For the stubbornness, there are some good stubbornness and there is some bad stubbornness. But
Ah,
when we talking obstinate, that's unreasonable. That's the extreme of
okay.
it. So I can
So
understand
let's
that.
go there.
Okay.
Let's go there. And Miss Butler said some wonderful things. She said some powerful things that I need our listening audience to understand. And as long, and this is what I do in my marriage counseling, never see your partner as the enemy. Because the day you see your partner as your enemy, that marriage, that relationship is doomed from that moment.
Mhm.
Because whatever they say and do, it appears as if they are attacking you. What Miss Butler said was that she had to basically close her and listen and learn, study her husband to find out what his likes and dislikes are. And as a result of that, then she had to go back and say, oh, well, I can't talk like this. Because you and I know, Dr. Marie, we talk about it all the time. The Bible says what? Husbands, love your wife. Why? The Bible never say to the woman, love her husband.
Nope. Nope.
But the man must love his wife. Why? Because that's what she needs.
Hmm.
Woman, respect your husband. Why? Because we don't need love. We need respect.
Hmm.
And until I feel that Tanya is respecting me, then what's going on here?
Hmm. Wow.
This ain't gonna work.
No. Good stuff, Miss Butler.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I
go ahead.
was just
I'll stop
ask,
there
I was
for
just
a
going to
minute.
ask the good doctor to um, give me his definition of what is your definition of stubborn, and then maybe I can understand a bit better why you said what you said.
My definition of stubborn is um, sticking to your point,
Okay.
sticking to your idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So sticking to your idea, and I guess she's gonna have to do some verbal gymnastics to get you to see that maybe you could be a little bit open to her idea, maybe? Or is it that you are resolute in your thinking that your idea is the best idea? Is that it?
Oh no.
Okay.
See, you have gone out of stubborn into foolish.
Okay.
Be, because anybody who thinks they're the one shop that they know it all, they know very little. Because the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So in my relationship with Tanya, if I think only my brain works,
Mm-hmm.
then I am foolish and ignorant.
Hmm.
Dare I say, even though we don't want to use terrible words, I am even to the point that I would say stupid. But I don't see that as being stubborn. Stubbornness is you holding to your point.
Hmm. I guess that these words
So
are
something.
go ahead, Marie.
Mhm. No, you go ahead.
I think these words are interchangeable, but I think that there are varying degrees of stubbornnness. There is a
Yes.
stubbornness that is actually maybe resolute. You're resolute in your decision and you've thought it through and you feel that this is the best thing for the family, you're resolute in that decision. I could appreciate that. But there are times
Mm-hmm.
when there is a stubbornness, like you said, that comes with foolishness and ignorance, because ignorance is our biggest mountain, right? And if you want to let go of some tenets and some things that you hold as true in your mind that may not necessarily be true, and you see that everything around you is spiraling, you're losing, but you still want to hold on to the fact that, hey, I'm right because, not necessarily because of what your thought process is, but I am right because I am the man. I am right because that's just the way it is. I am right because this is how we used to do it. I am right because this is how it is. Now, there is a foolish obstinance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there is a stubbornness, like I would use a more palatable word, and I think that's where you are, is more resolute. You're more resolute in some of the things that you think and say. And I am the same way too. And until you can come and persuade me or show me that there is a better way, I am pliable, because at the end of the day, it's not about me wanting to be right or me wanting to take the reign. I just want the prize. I just want the outcome. I just want us to get to the end and enjoy the outcome. So however we do it is fine. And if I have to do verbal gymnastics to persuade you, to show you, then I'm fine. If I have to, I wouldn't say debase, because that's not a good word. If I have to step down a bit to put you up, fine. And I watched this movie once called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And the mother said this one
Oh,
thing, and she said, uh, your father is the head, the woman, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck, right?
yes.
So it's but then the neck can move in any direction, but it still needs a head. But it's just like this coming together, and we are this, should be this soft little voice that says, I understand what you're saying, but have you considered this? Can we look at this? And then when you realize that you're not going to get anywhere, then you say, okay, we'll try a way. And if it doesn't work, is it okay if we gravitate to my way of doing things? It's a compromise. It's a compromise.
And see, even how you said that,
Yeah.
any loving husband, any caring husband, any husband who have the relationship, because like we always say, Dr. Miles Monroe says, marriage is perfect, entered into by two imperfect beings. Anyone who has the marriage ahead of them as that perfect entity would find that to be reasonable. But but what what I have seen through counseling is not just the man is being stubborn, the woman is saying it gotta go my way or it ain't going. So what you have now is a battle as to that man say, okay, so I guess she wants to be the leader, but I don't want her to be the leader.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah.
all of that
Hmm.
comes into play. Whereas, um, and boy, people come in and my sister-in-law came and she visited my wife and I, and Tanya and I had a little argument,
Hmm.
and my sister-in-law said after we were finished, she was like, "What was that?" And Tanya was like, "We just had an argument," and she's like, "That's not an argument. You all just had a discussion." Because I said to Tanya, Tanya, this is how I feel. When you do this, this is what happened. And then she then
Yes.
said to me, well, Alvin, I did that because of this. She then explained herself, and I was like, oh, okay then. But I don't like it when you do so and so. And then she said, but I don't like this either. And we worked that out, done, moved on.
Hmm.
Be- Because Tanya knows that her number one person to please is Alvin. Alvin knows that his number one person to please is Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
And if Tanya isn't happy, Alvin isn't happy. If Alvin isn't happy, Tanya isn't happy. Our marriage must always be a win-win. Because if it's not a
Okay.
win-win, it's always a lose. If I win and you lose, we lost.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. So many people then, and then this is another thing, Miss Butler, There are some people who are married who are not marriage material. They are not mature. They don't know what marriage is all about because they are still selfish. And then my question then would be to that spouse who married this selfish person: did you do your homework? Did you study this man or this woman before you got into a lifelong relationship with them? Because it
Mm-hmm.
cannot just be based on love. What draw you to this man? Because he didn't just get stubborn when he met you. He was always stubborn.
I agree.
Yep.
I totally agree. We don't
So
we don't
so
just appear stubborn. It just doesn't
yeah.
happen overnight.
So if he's always telling you no, think about all the times when y'all was courting, when y'all was dating. He was telling you no then too, but you looked over it. So you allow him to flow in his level of stubbornness. So now after marriage, he's saying, "Well, since she married me like this, she want me to stay like this."
Mhm.
There's one statement that people make, and I tend to use it too during marriage counseling: is man enters marriage hoping that the woman won't change. She does. Woman enters marriage hoping that the man will change. He doesn't.
Okay. I would like to add to what you're saying. I'd like to add to what you're saying because everything has a starting point, right? Everything has a genesis.
Yes.
And there's a lot of
Yes.
things that is happening in the relationship that we, as women, we are very intuitive. We see it. And some men too. They see it, but you decide not to address it because you don't want to lose that person. And my father said something to me,
Ah.
you know, he said, "You're in love until you're not in love anymore." Right? And when you're in love,
Powerful.
yeah, you're in love until you're not in love anymore. When you're in love, you can't see. But one of the most effective teachers in this universe is pain. And everybody is taking that class at some point or the other. And it's that that brings you back to reality because when pain comes, there's no pretending, right? But when that pain comes, it is at that time you have to make that decision, um, and not okay. You can pivot in two different directions when pain comes, right? You're hurting, yes, you're hurting, and then you tell yourself a story because we always believe the story that we tell ourselves. This was only for this time. He only this, that, the other, and the third. This is only for this time. She this, that, and the other, and the third. And we make excuses for that person. We don't allow
Yes.
that person to express, but we express for that person, right? I believe you should allow that person give you an explanation. You don't then come up with your own explanation and tell yourself the story because he never told you that. So you went on with fantasy in your mind or some explanation on your mind that really does not exist, right? And so um, if you look at it from the faith-based point of view, when we enter in a relationship, we never go to God and say, "God, how do you feel about this person? What do you think?" Peel the scales back so I can see what this person is all about. No. But after we have fallen in love and that euphoric feeling feels so good, we don't want to let go of this person. So we see things, we saw it. It's just that we took a blanket call excuse and cover it. And we say that if we don't see it, then we don't have to deal with it.
Mm.
But if you continue to kick the can down the road, eventually you're going to hit somewhere, right? You're going to hit a brick wall. So we as women, I can speak for women, we make excuses for the men that we want to be with. If he hits me this is only one time. Maybe if I do this, that, the other, and the third, right? But I believe that we have to be women and men have to be a single, satisfied person before we say that we are
Yes.
going to collate with somebody else. You have self-esteem issues,
Yes.
you have all these different things because it is the self-esteem issue that is causing you to come up with the excuse for that person.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sound and grounded, we're not perfect, of course, but if you're sound and grounded, then you realize as a woman, you are the prize, providing that you conduct yourself and invest in yourself to become the prize. Because even if you look in nature, the male, they come and they show their strength, their feathers, a dance, whatever, to get her attention, to show her
Mm-hmm.
that he is worthy of her. She
Yes.
then chooses.
Hmm.
He
Yes.
then chooses. And so until you are a single satisfied woman, filled, then you then can connect with another man, or then you are the scales are no longer on your eyes because you know what you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get 100%, but then you're going to have to say to yourself, what are the deal breakers? What are the deal breakers here? But I see the deal breakers. They're plain. I can see them in plain sight. I then now
Mm-hmm.
make the decision. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
making decision with my eyes wide shut. My eyes are wide, but they're
Yeah.
shut. You understand? I'm not making that
Yes.
kind of decision because I'm being honest with myself. And I love myself enough to say that, hey, I want to be in a relationship with somebody who's going to help me, pour into me as well as me pouring into them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to be this empty person that is needy. And then when I get in a relationship, I'm making excuses for this guy. I see things, but I can't process them. I don't want to process them because I want him.
Mm.
Because I,
That's
I, I
Miss.
I don't feel worthy enough that somebody else better may come along. I want
Yeah.
him. So,
Yeah.
so that is
Yeah.
that is our challenge.
that's
Yeah.
powerful.
Miss Butler, that's powerful.
Powerful.
And then too, while as you were talking, this thought hit me. I've done many marriage counseling. Married many people. About 99% of the people who come to me for marriage counseling, one of the first questions I ask them is, why are you here? And if they set a date for the wedding, they've already set a date, they already have every plan in motion. This is just the last thing they say they have to tick off before they walk down the aisle. And I smile to myself because they already come with their mind made up.
Of course.
They're being
Of
moved by
course.
love. And then after I hear that, I say this. I say, okay, then, let me tell you what my aim is during this marriage counseling sessions. And I do 8 sessions before marriage and one after. I say to them, in these 8 sessions, I'm going to do the best I can to get you all to not to get married. Because I know you're all on love mode now.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you all some hard questions that you all even ain't thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be very important and very vital for you in the marriage because they do get on this love high, realizing that that
Especially
high
it's the
don't
wedding.
last always.
Yes.
So at the end of my 8 counseling sessions, when they make it through, I say, okay, you all answer the questions. We went through it. From here on out, after I say I pronounce you husband and wife, when you all come to me, my aim has changed. My agenda has changed. When you come and talk to me, I can listen to you, pray with you, and I can say to you, go back to your husband because you had all the opportunities to leave him.
Yeah, exactly.
You had all the opportunities to leave her, but you didn't. Go back home, make
That's
it
right.
work.
This is so good, Doc. I love it. And I'm hearing some things because we are such difficult to get spouse to journey with whatever you're doing. But I heard Miss Butler said that they her and her husband they normally wanted the same thing, but there was a language barrier. And most of the time
Mm-hmm.
they both wanted the same thing. My question is, and I believe this is going to help our listening audience, because what happens when you want something different? than what he wants. How can we bring a resolution in here? Because most of the time, when we have problems with a stubborn spouse or an obstinate spouse, it is because that person is not moving in the direction you may want. And even though um, your want may be something legitimate, may be something that's going to be beneficial, he's not moving. How can we deal with such relationship? Because now what you must realize, this can cause resentfulness in a relationship. Because if every time I propose something, he doesn't want to do it, the next thing you're going to begin to resent that person. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I agree with all of the lovey-dovey stuff prior to the wedding. We overlook some things. Now the reality we've been overlooking. So now here is the real deal. He is not moving based on your wants.
Okay.
How can we help a listener that is tuning that may be going through such situations? And at the same time, I want our listening audience, if you have a question or comments, please send it in. We will try to answer as best we can. And if we don't have the answer right now, we will get it to you. We will get back to you. So the question is on the floor. What happens when you're not on the same page? He does not want to move on something that you want. You're not agreeing with what he's saying now, but you want something and he's not moving.
Okay. Um, there are some times then you would want something, and if it's not, if it's something that can wait, if it's going to cause a division and it's something that can wait, I'd wait. But there's some other times when it's really difficult and he is not moving. Persuasion is not working. Communication is not working. Bringing in his best friend is not working. No matter what you do, it's not working. It's for me because I look at the genesis of marriage, and I like told people would say, don't play with God. When I went to make that covenant on July 19, 1997, I wasn't playing that. I was serious about what I was doing. And so whenever I have a problem, and of course, God gives us tools by way of communication and learning one another. When it comes to a place where I am stuck and it's beyond me, I go to the third party in this relationship. Like I said in Malachi, he said somewhere, I think it's Malachi 2:15, did he not make them one with a portion of his spirit? He's right there. He's right there. In this whole ensemble, in the mix. So if I can't get you, I'm going to go to my daddy who can get to
I like
you.
that.
Case in
I
point,
like.
when we were
Mhm.
about to build our dream home, well, when we got married, we rented because we had a plan. Um, and so when we got the rental properties off the ground, it was time to build the dream home. I wanted XYZ. And he said no. But I already crunched the numbers, and I saw that it could work. But he said no. And the answers that he gave me, I had an answer for what he came up with, right? Like, what if this, what if that? And I can also understand that sometimes when a man comes up with these different things and you give him an answer, right? It agitates him. It doesn't help the
Yes.
situation. It agitates him,
Yes.
and that's telling you that it's something beyond what just to know. It's something behind that, and he's not telling you. So I a particular amount so I can get what I want because I'm not doing this again. And I went to God and I had the conversation with God and I laid out my plans and I showed what I wanted to do. And then I waited. And 2 days later, he sent someone to me and said, you were talking to God about something. He said, go back again. Went back again. And he said, oh, yeah, no, not a problem. Just get the pictures together and I'll sign them for you. Okay. So there are some things that we cannot do. I cannot, I cannot, I can only to a certain extent um, persuade somebody to a certain extent. But there are sometimes when that wall is up and there's nothing you can do, nothing humanly you can do. And even though we're here to work with one another, right? We are helpmeets to one another. Each one of us have um, a different role to play in the relationship. And of course, he is the one that makes the final decision. I believe because he's more logical than he is emotional. Because we know emotions are fickle. Emotions are fickle. They come and they go, and so you cannot make a permanent decision on a temporary feeling. Just chemicals flying all over the place. So I respect that. So I submit to that for him making the final decision. But when I see and I crunch numbers, especially something or somewhere where I have a strength in, because I may have a strength in certain areas and he may have a weakness and vice versa. But if I have a strength in this and I say, hey, this could work, but you're still saying no, it's something else. And I'm not going to get it from you, and I'm not going to waste time trying to do that. So I go to the one who knows everything about you, who can actually influence your heart, visit you in the middle of the night, because Joseph had already made up his mind that he was going to leave Mary because this don't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. But in the night, he had a visitation. Young man, don't go anywhere. You stay right in that relationship. Yes, sir. You understand what I'm saying? So there's you cannot physically make somebody do something that they do not want to do. And we gotta understand that would we persist, resist, right? But when we step back, we get grace, right? Would we persist, resist? You keep chasing after something, it'll keep running away from you. So sometimes you need to just stop. Make sure that you've tried everything that humanly possible, because God has given us tools. Once you go to your maker, the third person in this whole union, he's there to help you. Go and have that conversation. Or he may even tell you your husband's way is the best way, submit. He's saying no because I'm with him. We want to keep that no. And you have to be able to be in a position to accept that, because you want the end game. It's not about the who, what, where, why, and how. We all want the end game. Agreed? And if he'd say to me, no, no, Ketley, go along with what he's saying, okay, because I rather go to God who knows the end and how this thing is going to turn out. And if he says no, I say, okay, I get you. No. If it's yes, oh, I'm excited. Let's do this. Right? So my thing is, in conclusion, my long explanation is that I would go to the creator, the third person in my knowledge. Yeah.
That is so good, Ms. Butler. That is good. And let me share something here since you talk about it. Building. And I believe this can help somebody because when we design our plan for the house, I wanted a certain type house. My husband wanted another. So eventually I gave in. I said, okay, we'll do it because he promised me we will do it later. I love split level. He said, we'll do it later, right? But let's go this way right now. I agreed. We did it. And several years later, when the opportunity came up, I say, now I can go with my split level. He say, are you crazy? so,
Oh wow.
Right.
so sometimes you don't get what you want, right? Now, I could have gotten upset, which of course I did get upset, but I just leave it alone. But it gave me an opportunity to be able to do some things that I want to do, nevertheless. But there are times that it doesn't work our way. But rather than, if it's something that you can let's just leave it alone and it'll
Yep.
work out. I love what you
Mm-hmm.
said. Take it to Father God and allow Him to be the mediator in the midst,
Yeah.
and things can even work better, right? So rather than becoming hostile, rather than becoming resentful and pulling away from your spouse, think that conversation, coming together, being able to talk will make a big difference for our for a relationship that has a stubborn spouse or an obstinate spouse, right? So, Dr. Alvin, I believe that those relationships can be workable. It can
Yeah.
work, right?
Doc, you and I talk about this over and over, and we've come to the conclusion: the two fools can get married and live happily ever after. Once they're on the same page, working towards the same goal,
Hmm.
it'll work. And you'll have people pointing fingers and say, "Oh, look at them two fools going there,"
Hmm.
and laughing at them. But they're living together happily
That's right.
because they are working what their vision is to work. Um, I'm of the opinion, Doc, any man, any man, uh, uh, um, some people may disagree, any man that truly loves a woman in his heart, he wants to please that woman. He wants to please you.
Yes. Yes.
So, um, a no now can change. Once he knows, listen, this is not pleasing. Now, there are some things like Tanya knows, okay, and let me be transparent. Tanya never wanted to marry a pastor. Alvin never wanted to be a pastor. I still don't.
Ah, rather late.
Rather late.
Hmm.
Because I see how I'm a pastor's son, kid. I see how church people treat pastors. And I said, I don't want to put a wife and a family through that.
Wow.
Nonetheless, Tanya married me. She still don't want to be married to a pastor, but she wants to be married to me. I say to her, babes, if that's something Alvin could have changed to make you happy, I would do that. But because
Okay.
I told God whatever He says is what Alvin will do, that's why I'm doing this.
Hmm.
But if it was up to Alvin to make Tanya happy, oh man, no, I'll give up pastoring in a heartbeat. The only person that supersedes Tanya in my life is God.
And that's good. That is good.
And that is how any man that truly loves his wife, that is their mindset. So now, if if I say no to Tanya on anything, Tanya, Tanya, the Holy Spirit must be his user, is got to find a way to find out, well, Alvin, why are you saying no? And then we deal with that. Did that make sense?
Dr. Alvin, you making sense. But then guess what? I'm looking at the man or woman that is saying no to their spouse, but still love them.
Yes, that's
Still love them,
possible.
but saying
Yep.
no.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's and I'm going to use Ms. Butler's phrase. Let's go to the genesis of it. Why are they saying no?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue there.
Hmm.
Because there's sometimes like we tell our children no, and they look at us like, well, mommy, daddy, I thought you loved me. Yes, we love you, but we see something that you don't see.
Yep.
And there's sometimes you won't see it now. I did not know why my daddy and mommy treated me sometimes the way they did. Now that I have children, it all makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now that it makes sense, I'm like, oh, okay. So not every no means no, you know. Some no means not now.
Hmm.
Because Tanya said to me, the house we are living in now, we moved in this house some 10, 11 years ago. Well, 11 years ago. About a year or two into the house, we had our second child, and Tanya said to me, Alvin, we need more space in this house. And I said to her, I agree. We have the plan drawn. Tanya, working, I working. And the Lord said to me, it ain't time to build yet. And Tanya will ask me, Alvin, when are we going to do this? I have friends who did build their house. I have this gone, that gone. When are we going to do it? And I would say to Tanya, it ain't time yet. Because there's sometimes I don't even know. Because if I'm
Exactly.
truly led by the Lord, if I
Exactly.
trust God, there are some things I can't explain. But
Hmm.
I know that the Lord is telling me, Alvin, trust me and wait. So we waited. Do you know when the Lord gave me the release to start building our house? After I lost my job. The Lord says, now you can go start building. I said, God, now this don't make sense. Now how I could go tell Tanya, only her money coming in, that we going to go build.
Yep.
The house just about finished.
Hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Tanya tell me she wanted space. We walked to the house. I said, Tanya, you need any more space? She said, Alvin, this is ridiculous. I got too much space inside this house. I said, but if you want more, we can give you more.
That's what I'm saying. That's
That's
what I'm saying.
lovely. That's lovely.
And her friends there was a friend in particular who was saying, see, this is why I ain't get married. Because when I want to do things, I do what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. Her friend come to the house and say, oh my God, what is this?
Hmm.
How did you all get this?
Wow.
Because in God's timing,
Hmm.
and that is where the wife now needs to say, if I believe this man is the priest of the house,
Hmm.
sometimes I gotta trust his leading.
Yes,
And sometimes he may not know why he going down that road, but that's what faith is. I'm trusting God. God, when you tell me to move, I will move.
that's beautiful. That is
And that's
so.
one thing Tanya says to me, Alvin. Whenever you come to me and say, Tanya, I don't know, but God say, she suck her teeth and be like, well, anyway, since God say, I just gotta do and wait.
That's good.
And that's what we do.
That
And
is
it
Beautiful.
always pays off.
Hmm.
that is good. I love that. Oh man, I mean, we don't have enough time for this, and we may have to continue this one, but because there's much more in this that we can share to help our listening audience. Because Doc, we're looking at uh, you mentioned it, Tanya's friends. We have some wives that have some friends, and there is a disagreement um, from the husband or the wife, vice versa, may not want to move because of friends and what you want. So
Thank you very
there is
much.
so much more we can get from this, but we do not have enough time. So I'm going to ask you, Doc, Ms. Butler, to give us your final word in a short time as you possibly can, and then Dr. Alvin will give his final word, and then we will end our program for the evening. Could you believe it? 4 o'clock is upon us.
Yes, it
Go,
is.
Miss
Yeah.
Butler.
I just want to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to come on your program. And for those who are listening, um, marriage is beautiful. It's
Yes, it
beautiful,
is.
but it requires sacrifice. It requires putting the ego down. It requires trusting and respecting one another. Yes, you will have your differences, but look at the end game. Nobody's winning when we're not moving. Nobody's
Yes.
winning when we're not moving. So sometimes, mostly women, we can see. And sometimes we kind of like agitate the situation a little bit more than it should. Just take a step down. Just take it a notch down and then support him as best as you can. And if he is not aligned with what God is requiring of him, go on your knees. Go on your
Mhm.
knees. And be careful of what you're hearing from the outside because the enemy hates marriages and he's going to use whomever is available to whisper in your ear. And if those whispers come in your ear, put them through this filter. Did they come to kill? Did it come to steal? Or did it come to destroy? And if it
Mhm.
does, get rid of it. And there are some
Yes.
conversations that you should not be entertaining in the first place. So
Mhm.
those are my final words.
Okay. Okay, Alvin.
Powerful, powerful. In the words of Bishop T.D. Jakes, it'll work if you work it.
Oh, powerful. Powerful.
You you got to work it. And once you have decided that you are in it, be in it to win it. And and work together Two cannot walk together until they agree. And there's one
Okay.
version which says it, how can two hold hands while walking in different directions,
Mm-hmm.
opposite
Yeah.
directions to be exact? Not gonna work. You got to let go of the hand.
Wonderful. And I want to say to our listening audience, be calm. It will work out. Be calm.
Yes.
Sometimes we get all riled up and we want it to happen now. Be calm
Mm-hmm.
until you're able to go back at it. So we are not out of content this afternoon, but we're certainly out of time. But we will be
Yes.
back with you next week with this topic. We want to expand a bit more on this to another area. So if you did
Yes.
not hear what you wanted to hear, please send us your comments. Please send us your questions, and we will address them. So have a blessed afternoon, and we'll see you next week.